Hi guys, on today's segment I'll show you how to make a quiche, so keep watching. Begin by sifting the dry ingredients. Cut the butter into quarter-inch slices. The butter has to be super cold, otherwise it will be absorbed by the flour. Now I'm going to use something called a rub and dough method, which is literally rubbing the dough into the butter. Begin by coating the butter pieces with the flour and then start pressing the flour into the butter. When you're done, you'll get various pea and almond-sized pieces. Now, for those who don't like getting their hands dirty, there's this nifty gadget called a pastry blender or cutter. It's best to leave the cutter in the freezer for about half an hour before you begin making the dough. It's far better than using a food processor and eliminates washing that horrid looking blade when you're done. Add the egg mixture in increments. Work it into the dough with the scraper before adding another batch. Distribute the liquid evenly through the dough and scrape the sides while working the mixture. The goal is to avoid overworking the gluten. If you don't have a plastic scraper like the one I'm using, you can also use a rubber spatula. Purchasing information for all the tools that I'm using for this segment is listed below the video. Now I'll add the last batch of my egg mixture and continue to mix. If the mixture seems dry, I'll add an additional tablespoon or two of water. That cup has 2 tablespoons of water and I just added 1 tablespoon. Give the dough one last mix, and if the dough mixture holds up well, empty everything onto a clean surface and use the plastic bench scraper to get the remnants off the side of the bowl if you have any. Gently knead up to 2 times. Don't overwork it. Bring the dough together to form a mound. I personally prefer to use half of the crust for a low-carb option. However, if you want a more satisfying crust, just take that mound and form it into one bowl instead of splitting them into 2. Wrap the dough in cling wrap, place it in a bowl, and refrigerate for at least 30 minutes and up to 24 hours before filling the crust. Begin by dusting the surface with flour. You may run into problems shaping the pie crust dough into a circle when you first begin rolling. To get an even round roll, press the dough with your hands to make it look approximately like a hamburger patty. Again, don't knead it too aggressively or it will become too elastic or glutinous. Once you have a round shape, dust the top of the dough with a bit more flour, just enough to keep the rolling pin from sticking. Press the rolling pin into the dough without rolling. Pick up the dough, rotate it about a quarter of a turn, press again, roll away from you. You should try to work as quickly as you're shaping the dough. If it warms up too much, it will be difficult to handle. Keep pressing and turning the dough to maintain a consistent round shape. When you reach the point where you can't press the dough any further, start rolling. Rather than rolling to the edge, just roll in small increments and lift and turn the dough. Think of maintaining the general round shape without getting off the edge. Keep your pie pan nearby to get a good idea of the size your crust needs to be as you're rolling. Don't make it too big or it's going to be a little difficult to handle when you lift it up. Roll the dough onto the pin and lay it out into the pan. Press gently into the bottom of the pan. Fold the overhang under to give the crust an even edge. Once the edges are folded in, you can leave the edge of the pie crust folded or finish the edge by pressing it with a fork or crimping. Allow the pie crust an opportunity to rest and chill in the refrigerator for at least 15 minutes before baking or filling. You can also refrigerate it for up to 24 hours. To make the filling, we'll begin by caramelizing the onions. To caramelize onions, begin by placing a tablespoon of olive oil into the pan on medium heat. Add the onions and leave alone until the steam occurs. Once this happens, stir, add salt, and stir occasionally until the onions are soft and golden brown. This should take approximately 15 minutes or so. You can further caramelize the onions by keeping the heat on low and stirring occasionally. Sauté the spinach for a few minutes to remove the excess water. Set aside and allow to cool completely with the onions before adding the eggs. Add the sour cream and your Gouda cheese, which I completely forgot to add, so please don't forget and make the same mistake. Add the chopped olives or some olive tapenade, that's from Trader Joe's. If you're seeing three hands at work, your eyes aren't playing tricks on you. That's my little girl in the background. Add some chopped basil, season with salt and pepper and some paprika, and stir. Carefully pour the custard into your pan. And remember, you can leave the edges of the pie crust folded or finish the edge by pressing it in with a fork or crimping. To crimp the edge with your fingers, make a V with your thumb and your forefinger and press it on the outside of the shell. Preheat your oven to 400 degrees. Bake for 15 minutes and then reduce the heat to 350 degrees and bake for additional 35 minutes or until the edges are puffed and very light brown. The top of the quiche will souffle a bit, and that's fine as long as it's a little jiggly. You don't want it completely hardened. The top will deflate and even out to give you nice, beautiful quiche pie that's presentable and delicious. I'm lifting the pie right above the camera so you can see how golden the crust is. And since I forgot to add the cheese in the beginning, I'm going to sprinkle plenty on. Thank you again for watching, and I'll see you guys next time. Bye now.